Very good afternoon, everyone. Charles here, Frgnt Daily Chart Analysis. Time is just approaching 25 minutes to 3 local time here in Milan, Wednesday, 22nd of April, 26. Very good afternoon to you all. Well, where to start? An interesting London session. I haven't taken any positions, unfortunately, but the good news is price, well, we can see definitely liquidity is now coming back into the market. That's always good news. In addition to that, further good news is the forecast, the bias, also correct. And I have to be careful what I mention here on TradingView, but in various other communities that Frgnt is heading, all I've explained is actually price is just now showing its hand across the higher time frames. Let me bring that to better examples. So let's talk about US dollar CAD. US dollar CAD this morning, I was indeed scoping those long positions. In particular, it was a long position from this area, hopefully to fill Asia. Now let's go to my breakdowns this morning. US dollar CAD, US dollar CAD. Here we were 7 hours ago. How time flies. In the meantime, while this loads, that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles. You make your forecast, you await the setup. Great, the setup was there. But not first and foremost, but most importantly, it's not just about the setup, right? It's about your entry criteria. If I was to take positions based on all of my forecasts, i.e. just order blocks, look for positions, then that's not really trading. That's just being a good forecaster. But we want to take being able to forecast to the next level and apply trading to that. And the only way that you separate or differentiate forecasting great trades and being a great trader is, in my opinion, having a nailed on entry technique. So it's unfortunate my entry technique did not present itself, but I'm happy again just to say that the forecast is correct. So we are there. US dollar CAD. So what we were looking at this morning, price 7 hours ago, not quite at that point of interest. We took those US dollar CADs yesterday, took profits around here, that 3%, good news, and then looking for price as always, as a result of making that higher high. Where is the higher low? That's the forecast element. Anticipate the higher low by way of order block selection, refined areas, and long story short, looking for that long position from that area. So that's US dollar CAD. Now we can see price came down to that order block to perfection, and pretty much all I was waiting for was that lower time frame break of structure, which we gained. Then waiting for a price to return, unfortunately it did not. Now I have lost a confluence by way of looking to take that trade in line of that being an Asia range trade. However, I will still be looking to take long positions as a result of price actually just breaking Asia. In an ideal scenario, I'd love price to actually break structure completely, and then I'll simply move this higher high across and expect much of the same after a higher high, the most basic form of price action, higher high, lower higher low, continuation for that higher high. So that's a grand example of the forecast coming to fruition. However, entry criteria and technique did not allow me to take an entry. It is what it is, as I say. Cookie crumbles, and if you want to take a shower, then expect to get wet from time to time. So that's US dollar CAD. GCAD, not really interested in GCAD at all. I foresee US dollar CAD looks to me for a much better position, and if I am expecting long-term weakness on the pound, then taking a GCAD long doesn't really make sense for me at this time. GBP USD, again, didn't really forecast to take an immediate short position, I must admit, from this area, and I'm still waiting for this to play out, actually. I don't have the clear sign based on the 4-hour time frame that price is actually ready to turn around just yet. Therefore, I am still within the realms of that higher time frame reversal criteria, which I don't really like to be alongside with unless I am shorting from the absolute highs, and then I have a clear range down to the 4-hour 50 EMA where we can quite clearly see here price is being held. So drawn by my poorly drawn, I should say, 4-hour bearish candle that I would love for price to close below that 4-hour 50 EMA And then again, it's just the simple basics of price action after a lower low. Expect price to want to pull back at some stage. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but when it does, I'll have the confirmation now by way of that lower low created on the 4-hour time frame. No longer trading, in my opinion, by way of reversal, and I would just be within the midst of a nice 4-hour position. So very much so waiting for that break and pullback. Alternatively, if I don't get the break, then of course up at the highs. Once I do see that confirmation, I'll be looking to short them down in towards the 4-hour 50 EMA, as opposing to having the EMA on side. So that's GU. EU, again, another trade that I was forecasting this morning, another trade that I was looking to take. However, the better news, I should say, is that price didn't actually get up to my area. So this forecast is still very much so still in play. However, I have lost a confluence by way of that being the Asia range fill down to the lows. But nevertheless, as I've said previously, as price starts to make that move, it is only showing its hand for better confirmation. So hopefully we can have these lows broken, stay consistent in the patience, have price or wait for price to pull back up to that valid area that is very much so still available. And then I'd be looking for that short position down post some confirmation. That's EU, I'm not interested at all at the moment. I've understood based on a 4-hour time frame, very much so range bound. So I want that range to be broken, as you can see here on my 4-hour time frame. Range is identified. Again, that 4-hour 50 EMA playing a major part in keeping AU still in the reversal territory if I'm looking to take any type of shorts at the moment. Again, just like EU, without that break below the range, specifically also below the 4-hour 50 EMA, where price is bouncing from at the moment. With that said, it's just come to my attention. Of course, we do have this 15-minute order block, but then you're going to ask, so Charles, you looking for a long position from that area? Unfortunately, looked based on my overall bias of the DXY strength, I don't think it's wise for me to trade against the DXY strength, and overwhelmingly I would much just prefer wait for a short opportunity to present itself based on the fact that I am monitoring the DXY performance, as you can see here a couple of days ago, waiting for that 4-hour time frame to really show its hand again, much like that 4-hour 50 EMA, keeping price below. Also a structure point on that 4-hour time frame, keeping price below. Hoping that this 4-hour candle on the DXY, 2 hours and 17 minutes, for it to either look to reject that 4-hour 50 EMA, or hopefully it closes above it positively. And then what we'll have is a beautiful continuation on that trend, higher highs being created on the 15-minute time frame and higher lows. Expecting a nice and basic simple pullback on that 15-minute time frame. If I enlarge that for you to have a look, and just understand that once you can understand how the DXY is moving, using that as a clear confluence for your trade across the crosspairs, trading becomes that much more simpler. So that's AU spoken about alongside the DXY. UJ, not interested at all, just marked it up for pure fun. And GU, this is a bit of an ego booster. I do not trade GJ. Excuse me if I called that GU. I do not trade GJ at all. However, what you will find is I have thrown EG in the bin for a considerable amount of time. Bit fed up, to be honest. As you can see here on training video, it looks as if it's only me even giving EG a slight hand as I scroll through the mines that I'm posting pretty much on a daily basis. It seems as though it's only me. So I should take that really as advice to leave it alone for some time to time. But that's how trading goes. So GJ, just to stroke my ego a little bit, you can see here 22 minutes ago, okay, maybe I do know how to trade. Why have I put such comment? Well, 6 hours ago, just marked it up again, just for pure analysis, just to see if potentially it would play out. Skimming GJ as a result of getting rid of EG, as I said. Perhaps it's time to replace it. What would I replace it with? So just seeing if the strategy is going to act in line with how I believe it should across all trading pairs. GJ just marked it up on the 4-hour only and the 15-minute. Recognize we had that snap on the 4-hour time frame. refined areas, 15-minute points of interest, had a reaction from a 15-minute order block, created a slight range, looking for price to break, pull back into the area. Or if you'd like to take that aggressively using the 4-hour 50 EMA as your target, then of course a lower time frame break of structure in and around that area before looking for the melt, and that's what we have. However, it looks better now. As I said, if price starts to move without you, just understand that it's actually price showing you its much better hand. Therefore, take it with a pinch of salt. Understand it's doing you a favor. We now have a break of structure. I'll be looking for price to return back to that order block before now shorting it down with the 4-hour 50 EMA, using the fact that I have that break of structure as a confluence. Unfortunately, I do not have the confluence of the Asia range low, as the Asia range has been filled. Nevertheless, I would much prefer a break of structure as a confluence as opposing to just an Asia range and then hoping for a break of structure whilst I'm in that position. Right, I'll keep it there, ladies and gentlemen, just to reinforce the absolute necessities, regardless of you sharing your forecast or not. I do believe it imperative to have a plan prior your trading day. As you'll see here, you don't necessarily need to be up as early as I am 8 hours ago. That makes it roughly about 6 or 7 in the morning my time, so that's around 5 or 6 UK. But it is what it is. DXY, looking at the DXY 8 hours ago, and what exactly do we have? Again, it might be a bit of an ego stroker, but once this loads, you will see what the forecast is what actually occurred in the markets, if that does want to load, or perhaps it's a sign not to stroke your own ego. Well, nevertheless, team, I'll keep it there for now. That's pre-New York to see what's going to happen come New York Open. Well, everybody, thank you very much for your attention, support across all the channels. I do appreciate it. As always, can't emphasize that enough. Good luck in your trading journey. All the very best. Charles.